Hi painters! Today I want to show you a brush that I've discovered recently that I really like a lot. Seems to answer a lot of my needs when it comes to fine detail work. It's the Scharff Classic Spotter number 4. And what I like about this is that it makes a very fine point. The round Bringle blenders are very similar. They come to a point, they're built about the same way. But because I stipple with these a lot, the tip becomes more blunted, and so a lot of times I'll I'll save a number 2 round Bringle blender so that I can maintain the point on that brush and use it for fine detail work. I'll show you the difference between a number 2 round Bringle blender and the number 4 Classic Spotter. The spotter has bristles that are just slightly longer, and there are fewer bristles contained within the ferrule. So it doesn't have the fatness, it doesn't quite have the same fatness that the round blender has. So it's going to maintain that point, and I try not to use it for stippling. Obviously I don't want to blunt the point, but it comes to a beautiful, nice point, and it's great for detail work, and I've even used it for some line work. So I want to show you now, well, we'll just use the fruit bowl as a sample of what we can do with this spotter. Now, as I've said, I reserve this brush for detail work, small little areas. So if I was working on this peach and I wanted to increase some of the light area in a very small section, I could load my brush up. I'd use just the tiniest bit of water with it, and with the tip of this brush I can just gently lay in a little tiny bit of color right exactly where I want it. I can blot my brush a little bit and then use a little more pressure and blend it outward. If I wanted to create a little more darkness somewhere, I would pick up, let's move down to this pear, and I could pick up some of my dark value, put in here. So I'm going to pick up some of my very dark green color to enhance and increase the darkness just on the tip of the brush, and I can just place that right exactly in that very small area. And blend it. The tip of this brush is a little more elongated than the round Bringle blender, so it actually works a little bit more like a liner brush and not quite so much like a blending brush. Let's take another spot. Maybe I wanted to increase the red look up here somewhere on my watermelon, so I could take that. Just now, remember, we're talking about working on just very tiny spots. So really on this watermelon you probably wouldn't even need to use a tiny brush. I'm sticking with my red, and let's say I wanted to enhance the red on this apple way back there in the back. I could just lay the red on there, blot the brush, then use a little more pressure to blend it. You're going to be using very light touches with this brush. You're going to touch it ever so lightly. It's not like using the blender brush where you want to rub more firmly. Just one more example where you could maybe increase the depth of your bird nest. I might want to just take that and just tiny little, just a tiny little bit of dark down deep so that it would just increase the depth and make those eggs look like they're more inside that nest. What I'm discovering about the brush is that it's wonderful for working on faces. It's great. A lot of times when I teach faces, we run into problems with using a liner brush, which creates a little bit too much of a harsh line, and the number 2 round blender, which it doesn't quite have a tiny enough tip to work on small areas. So it's wonderful for working on eyelids and the tips of noses and small areas on a face. So I hope that you'll check into it. You can purchase this on my website. You can probably find it in your local painting store. It's the Scharff, let's put this, 101 Classic Spotter, size 4. Paint happy!